Hello and welcome to the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm Kurt and I am your host today. It is Friday, the 20th of November of 2020, and I'm glad to see you coming along, whether you're here on Rumble, on YouTube, or on the podcast. Definitely thanks for joining me today. I'm going to talk today about a blog post that I'm in the process of writing. The blog post is on the subject of government resources, and I want to talk about, firstly, what the government does own, secondly, what it doesn't own, and thirdly, sort of how it comes to have what it has. Okay, so let's start actually with how it comes to have what it has, so that we can then talk about we'll take a second just to say this. You can say that the government owns military equipment. You can say that it owns various pieces of equipment that it uses, like trucks and so forth, that it uses to do various kinds of governmental tasks that supposedly need to be done. I don't know whether or not it still owns the mail trucks. Technically, it used to. City governments often have their own fleet of vehicles that they have and various kinds of equipment that they have for various purposes. But here's the thing. When it comes right down to brass tacks, okay, you ask yourself what the government owns, and we're going to answer the question what it doesn't own in just a minute here with a real answer. But let's talk about why or how the government gets the largesse to have the various things that are considered under its ownership. Okay, and there are three ways that this happens. The first of those three ways is taxation. On various levels, various taxes are charged, and some of those do not look like you probably think when you think about taxation. The first of these is things like income tax, things like, the sales tax, right? Sales tax is an example. Income tax, sales tax. On the federal level, income tax. On the state level and below, sales tax or income tax potentially. On the state level and below, sales tax. And all of these are mechanisms that are used to fund government. But here's the thing. Have you ever heard the term Patient Protection Affordable Care Act? If you haven't, maybe you've heard the term Affordable Care Act or ACA. Maybe you've heard the term Obamacare, which is a misnomer because it was a bunch of the Affordable Care Act was a bunch of stuff that was that was written by a whole bunch of different people and then stuck together by, of all people, Hillary Clinton, and therefore it ought to be called probably Hillary Care. Now, to be fair, she probably had others who did the sticking together for it. She probably didn't even have to do that. That having been said, though, the Affordable Care Act had a individual mandate. The individual mandate said if you don't buy health insurance, then you have to pay fees or fines in order to make up for the fact that you don't do that. Well, the problem is somebody contested that, and it got all the way to the Supreme Court. And much like Social Security, and this may be true for Medicare and Medicaid, I'm not sure, but Social Security, this sort of thing happened the same way. They said, we're going to create this trust fund, and your money's going to go into this trust fund. And I think it was, again, the Supreme Court who basically said, you can't do that. That's not a thing you can do. That money that you're collecting, it's taxes. That's what we call that, taxes. And so that money is generally available to just about anybody and everybody who has access to tax money. So the federal government in that particular instance. And the same thing is true for the mandate in the individual mandate in the Affordable Care Act. Initially, they said it was a fee or a fine. Well, I think it was Mr. Roberts, Justice Roberts, who said, no, you can't do that. And so what he did was, yet again, he recouched it as a tax, and everything suddenly became great again, right, in their way of looking at the world. So that's another way that they tax you. So you've got your income tax, you've got your property tax, you've got your sales tax, and various other ways that they're taxing you for various things. Hawaii had, when I was there, a weight tax, and they used that in order to supposedly improve roads. So I had a bicycle, and I didn't have a weight tax sticker on my bicycle. They impounded the bicycle, made me pay the weight tax and maybe an impound fee, I'm not sure, in order to give me my own bicycle back because I didn't have a weight tax sticker on the bicycle. And they went through and basically collected everybody's bicycles until they paid the weight tax. which nobody even knew that they had to pay. But this is the point. This is taxation, right? The next thing that they do, right, is through the fact that they have a central bank in the United States, and this happens in lots of entities, and the fact that I think it was Richard Nixon decoupled the currency of the United States from the gold standard, that is, from precious metals, basically, it became possible for the Federal Reserve and the mints, the various mints, to print money on demand as a desire. So you had $1 trillion out there, and this, of course, is not what is actually happening. But let's say you had $1 trillion out there, and they printed 10 billion more. Well, the existing currency was reduced in value by the new currency that was put out there. So in both of these cases, in both the cases of taxation and quantitative easing, i.e. where you print more money, that is where you print more money, both of these things are paid for pretty quickly by either you losing that money to taxation or the value losing money and inflation occurring as a result. But the last one is even worse to me, and it is the idea of the government taking out loans, typically from foreign countries. And the worst part about this, besides that it's kicking the can down the road, is that the typical agreement says that they have to, quote, service the debt. Well, what does servicing the debt mean? Well, it means paying the interest that comes due on the debt. And actually, there are times when we can't even do that. But actually paying the principal on the debt? No. We're just paying the interest that's due on the debt. That's all we're doing as a result when we're doing that. So that one is certainly kicking that can down the road, and it's a horribly bad idea. Now, what does all of this mean about what the government actually owns when you think about it? All right. Well, it's pretty simple. It means that the government has borrowed money from everybody. They borrowed money from you in the form of taxation. They've borrowed money from you in the form of printing currency. And they borrowed money from others, from other countries and so forth, in the form of taking out loans. And what that really means is what the government owns, more or less, is, well, nothing. It owns pretty much nothing. It's using facilities, it's using equipment, it's using vehicles and so forth, it's using warships, it's using warplanes, it's using battle equipment for the army and so forth. But what it actually really owns is really pretty much nothing. You, as a person, are an owner of any resource that they have available to them at this point in time. And here's the funny thing. Those who espouse communism, and more so socialism, want to, quote, seize the means of production and, quote, give them to the people. And what that actually means is give them to the government. And what that means is the stuff that you currently own at this point in time would become the property of the government. They argue that they're giving it to the people. How do you do that? How do you accomplish that? The reality is, if you look at every communist or socialist entity out there, and really communism, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't exist, but that's a topic for another video, one that I've probably already done and may very well do again. But what they do when they say, in every case, when they say, we're going to seize the means of production and it's going to belong to the people, what they actually say is, or what actually happens is, that government ends up with that thing that supposedly belongs to the people. It's a lovely, what's the word I'm looking for? Euphemism for the idea of government seizing the means of production. That's what it is. That's what they do. But the point of all of this, the thing that I'm trying to get across on all of this, is where you can argue that the government owns certain things as a result of the fact that they've taken things from other people to buy those things. Really, all of those things are owned by the people. And if we let them, they'll take the things that we already have, as well as having taken resources from us to quote, buy the things that they have. And I'm not saying none of those things are worth anything or useful for anything. I'm simply saying you have to really understand who they belong to. All right, I'm about out of time for this video, so I'm going to wrap up now. And as I say, it's Friday, the 20th of November of 2020. That makes Saturday, tomorrow, the 21st of November of 2020. And I'm going to try and get out another video again tomorrow, and hopefully we will see you then. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you have a good weekend. And hopefully, again, we will see you again tomorrow. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Friday, the 20th of November, 2020. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for checking out this video. Remember that you can like it on YouTube and you can give it a rumble on Rumble if you want to do that. I have channels on both YouTube and Rumble. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels. You can subscribe to either one of those if you want to do so. Remember, if you subscribe on YouTube, you probably want to click the notification bell in order to be notified of new content. If you want to see more from me, you can check me out on my blog. That's blogs.kpschubert.com, blogs.kpschubert.com. You can also see my Facebook page. That is Kurt's Religion and Politics on Facebook. You can check out my Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com accounts. My handle on all three of those is at kpschubert. That's at kpschubert. You can check out my podcast. The podcast is at podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcast.kpschubert.com. And finally, you can check me out on Patreon. And if you want to support me, that's probably one of the better places that you can do that. I am Kurt's Religion and Politics there. Thanks again for checking out this video, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.